Thank you.
Okay, so very lovely to meet you all, even though I may never get to know all the names, but it's nice to see all the faces. It's very helpful to see people who I'm talking to. And I'm, Venerable Karunika, I'm talking to you from the land of the Gandangara people here in Australia, in New South Wales. That is the native tribe here, and I would like to pay respects to the leaders of past, present, and future of this land. And most of you may not know, but Venerable Chanda and myself are monastic twins, which means we both became bhikkhunis exactly at the same time, on the same day, at the same place. So there were 4 nuns who became bhikkhunis on the day, but Venerable Chanda and I were a pair together. So in that way, we are quite close. And so therefore, I have been a bhikkhuni for 8 years and in monastic life altogether for about 12 years. And I'm currently staying, I'm originally from Santi Forest Monastery in Western Australia. And we have been invited to come and help Santi Forest Monastery, which is in New South Wales, to keep going so that we have more places for nuns and women to also take up ordination. So I'm currently here in New South Wales helping that to do that project. And it is 4:30 in the morning. It's a beautiful time to meditate for us. Early morning, as Ajahn Brahm says, is the time to get enlightened. So let's see whether we can achieve that. There's not a lot to tell about myself apart from that. And you can ask any questions afterwards. But maybe let's all get started. Are you all excited to get to relax? Yeah, let's call it today. We are going to relax instead of meditation. Okay, if meditation happened, that's great. If not, my goal is to relax. But the idea is when we relax, often we tend to fall asleep, right? When we try to relax the way we relax, sometimes we let everything go. And then we miss out on the enjoyment of relaxation. So the only thing I would like everybody to tell is I'm now going to relax, but I'm going to really enjoy my relaxation to the max, which means you have to stay alert and be aware and notice how you're relaxing. That's the whole point. So you won't fall asleep. So try and sit in a way that is comfortable. But if possible, keep your back straight. But if not, it's okay. But just so we are going to just do a bit of relaxation instead of meditation and see what happens. Okay. So if you wish, you can close your eyes and relax. I'm going to relax myself. Spend a few minutes just to adjust your posture so that you are comfortable. And allow the chair or whatever you are sitting on to take the weight of your body so you can really let go of your body. So for this sit, I would like you all to bring up a happy and a kind memory, like something that you have done good, that uplifts you, that brings joy to your mind right now, right here. Anything that inspires you, just bring that for a moment. Just feel good. And this is a time we have nothing to do and nowhere to go. We can just relax deeply into the moment. I'm going to start the gentle body scan. If you wish, you can follow that. If not, you can do whatever you are happy to do. So if you wish, take a few moments to thank your toes and your feet. Have a sense of gratitude for your feet and say thank you for all the work that has been done for you. If your feet are touching the ground, use the sensations that you can feel to ground yourself into the present moment, right here. Allow your calf muscles to relax with a sense of gratitude towards them. Say a big thank you to your knees and allow them to relax as well. Allow your thighs and your buttocks to relax. You owe a big thank you for your sitting muscles, for all the sitting you have done all your life. Feel your back relaxing as you say a big thank you. See whether you can relax your stomach. Open up your chest and receive a big hug from yourself as you relax your chest. Allow your shoulders and arms to relax with a sense of gratitude. Gently relax your neck. I invite you to bring a beautiful smile as you relax your whole face. Feel your entire body relaxing, and it's saying thank you to you for allowing it to relax deeply into the present. A relaxed body is delightful. Feel the delight coming up. If you're noticing your breath, you can breathe in with a sense of love and breathe out with a sense of peace. If your mind is wandering, gently bring it back to the relaxed and delightful body. Happy to be here. As the body is getting delightful, feel the delight coming into your mind. Breathing in love, breathing out peace. As we are coming to the end of this deep relaxation, take a few moments to notice how you feel. The delight in the body and the delight in the mind. See whether you can feel them. Now I invite you to take 3 slow, deep breaths. At the end of the last one, you can end this session and open your eyes. Okay. Hope it was relaxing for you all. Anyway, that's something different. And so as you would know, I also suggested the topic as deep relaxation. And if the meditation didn't work for you, then we can maybe find out what happened. Because I know for me, it's early in the morning and I have rested well and just woken up. It's a nice time for the mind to be bright. But I know for most of you, it's in the evenings, and it's 7:38 at evening. You may have just had your supper. So it's a bit of an active time of the mind at the end of a day, a busy day maybe, or a relaxing day, whichever day it was. So sometimes it may not have been easy to relax, maybe it was. But even though we like to relax, why is it sometimes so hard for us to relax? Isn't that the case? Yeah, sometimes it is not easy to relax properly. Yeah, that is also why sometimes we have aches and pains in the body or sicknesses, is we don't know how to relax, and it's really hard to relax, even to relax the body and relax the mind. And the whole Buddhist path is about this, actually. It's another way of talking about it. It's about relaxing our body and relaxing our mind and really calming it down and making it still. Yeah, just like the Ajahn Brahm used the water glass, the glass of water, you put it down and allow the water to sort of settle down. It's just the same process. That's what we are doing. But we are so good at agitating it and shaking it and checking it, whether the ripples are there, touching it. And, this is what we do to our body and mind too. And there is a reason for it. It is because for most of us, or at least for some of us, present moment is not always very pleasant, yeah, because we have lots of things going in our background of our body or in our mind. So when we start to sort of come into this present moment, it doesn't seem very enjoyable. So it seems it's enjoyable to run into the future and fantasize a bit, or go back into the past and think about and indulge in the past or something like this. So that is why it's really hard to sometimes relax. So the Buddha says, when the mind is happy, that is when it's going to relax. So it's quite nice for us to, first of all, bring up a bit of happiness. And there are many ways that we can bring up happiness. And I'm sure you all know various different techniques. I'll just only mention a few, but focus on just one for today, one or two. So you can think about your own goodness. You can think about all the good things that you have done. That is called Chaganusati. Or you can think about the good qualities of the Buddha, or the good qualities of Dhamma, or qualities of the practicing monastics, or you can have metta meditation, all these kinds of stuff to uplift. But what I'm going to focus today as a way of uplifting your mind is gratitude. And that is why I also did the body scan with the idea of gratitude to our body, because sometimes we have a lot of gratitude to other people, but we forget our very body. And since we've been born, it has been very helpful to us, isn't it? I remember once I had a car accident and my thumb broke. And at that time I was a layperson and I had long hair. And I had to cut my hair because I couldn't wash and dry and deal with my hair without one thumb. Imagine just the thumb, even a small little appendage of your body, when it's not working, your whole life changes, yeah? But yet we take our body to be so, take it for granted. And we never stop to really thank our body, yeah? We sometimes are very abusive of our body. We push it to the max. And that is why sometimes it's not able to relax, yeah? And then we always only focus on the parts that's aching or sick and complain about it. But what about all the other parts that are all doing well? Like, right now, I'm sure nobody's ear is hurting. Your eyes are not hurting. Maybe your nose is good. There are many parts of your body which are doing really well. So that's why it's really nice to have that attitude of gratitude. I'm sure you all know about Ajahn Brahm's the two bad bricks in the wall. So like that, sometimes we just focus on the little one or two things that's wrong with our body. But there's like 98 parts that are good in our body. So it's nice to really have that sense of gratitude for our body. And that allows it to really relax as well. Same to our mind. Our mind is also, have been working for us and doing a lot of things for us, and to allow it to relax and bring up joy and not focus anything that is not so good in your life. Surely we all have that, but there's also many things that's going well in our life. Yeah. So it's nice sometimes to actively cultivate this. So the reason why gratitude is in my mind today is yesterday we had a youth group, mostly teenagers, about 30 kids were here at the monastery doing a day retreat. And they requested the topic of gratitude and kindness. So it's still fresh in my mind. So for them, I did a bit of a sales pitch. Maybe you all know this, but I'll do the same sales pitch to you as well, just in case. So you may be familiar with some of the happy hormones. Those are the like serotonin and dopamine, things like this. They are the neurotransmitters that activate the bliss centers of our brain, right? So that's what helps us to become happy, positive people. Like serotonin is helpful to become happy, but happiness is what makes you calm and helps you to focus. So it is helpful to meditate, also to do your work, right? So bringing up serotonin in your brain, those neurotransmitters, is helpful for that. And as you do your meditation, more of that will come out as well. So gratitude is helpful for those neurotransmitters to come out. And dopamine is something that is good for becoming very efficient. You become motivated, you get energy, enthusiasm, all those kinds of stuff come up as well. So that is also interesting, because sometimes it's like, oh, another sit. Do I have to sit now? Sometimes you may not be motivated to meditation, but I suppose it's my meditation time. I got to sit. So if you sit like that, it's hard to meditate, right? But if you can actually get a little bit of dopamine coming up in your body, in your brain, then you're motivated, you're excited, and you're happy, and you have a kickstart, yeah, to start your meditation. So that is why when you bring up gratitude in your mind, that helps you to meditate, or that helps you to do whatever work you need to do in the day as well. So, and that happiness makes you be able to stay in the moment quite well. So this is, I feel, quite important and very helpful for each one of us. So, and what I'm sure you all know, but just to remind ourselves, gratitude is whenever we receive something that is really helpful to us, and it comes to us freely. Yeah, it's a free gift that we have received. So, and when we receive a free gift, we can develop a sense of thankfulness to it. I'm sure when we get some big things, we have these things. But I just want to point out some of the little things that we take for granted, because gratitude is something that we have to cultivate actively. And it's nice to be creative about it and be a bit playful with it, so that it is exciting and we have different things to be grateful in different days. Like, for example, most of you would have had a lovely supper today. But there are many people who probably didn't have a meal whole day. So, then we can just be very grateful as we take our first bite. Just, I'm so grateful I have a nice meal to have today. I'm not hungry. And yesterday I was telling the kids, I was so grateful that I woke up and I was still alive, because if I was dead, we couldn't have had the class. And also, we have currently one of the visiting monks who's here. And while he's here, he was tested positive for COVID. So Santi, there is COVID. No, none of the nuns have got it. So yesterday I was also happy to wake up and realize that I'm still healthy. Imagine I had a sore throat and I tested positive. Again, the class would have had to be canceled. Even today, I might not be able to be here with you all. Life is uncertain like that. So I was also very grateful. Even this morning, I wasn't sure that I'm healthy today. Yeah. So all of you look fairly healthy and happy. So we can have that sense of gratitude for being alive, being healthy, good enough. Yeah. And I can see everybody is in a very nice, cozy home. There are many people who are living just, on the street, feeling hot or cold or affected by the weather. So it's nice, like actively bringing up those ideas. Wow, I have a nice home to live in, a warm bed to sleep, something nice to eat, and probably, good people around. At least there's a nice group of like-minded people coming together, an opportunity to practice. So all of these little things are nice. And do I see sunshine outside in some of the places? Is it a nice sunny day in there? Maybe. So, we can be grateful. It's a nice weather. It's a beautiful day, and having clean water to drink. I'm just bringing up all these things because sometimes we forget, we take these things for granted, but it is about just bringing anything like this to our mind so that we can feel that gratitude coming up, and it uplifts you. And that feel-good feeling is the start of relaxation and deep meditation. And this is just to say that this is not just me. The Buddha mentioned this. In a couple of places in the suttas, the Buddha say that what he calls a good person is somebody who is thankful and who is grateful, is what he calls a good person. So it's interesting. I often wondered why he specifically said it like that. Somebody who's thankful and grateful, that's the person, he said, a good person. And he also said somebody who's unthankful and ungrateful is somebody who is a bad person. So it's good to remember, yeah, it's good to remember that it goes a long way if we ask people who are grateful and thankful. And that shows a grateful and thankful person is somebody who's positive, who is naturally happy, who's naturally kind. And these are very helpful things to start the path. And the cornerstones of meditation are right view and virtue, your morality. And morality is nothing but kindness, right? So whatever acts that you do by body, speech, and mind that are not harmful for another, not harmful for yourself, not harmful for both, is what virtue is. That's what it goes down to, yeah? So that in order to do that, you need to be quite wise and kind, right? Because that's when we actually make sometimes mistakes. So kindness and wisdom are kind of two sides of the same coin. You can kind of reflect and see that that's the case. And when we are wise, we are kind. And when we are kind, we can be wise. And often when we try to do something and if it wasn't kind, at least if we had a good intention, we can learn from it. And yesterday, one of the nuns gave a really nice story from her life. When she was a little girl, she has heard about helping elderly people, right? So she saw one old lady trying to cross the road, the typical story with a bag of groceries. And she thought, I have my opportunity to help her. So she ran to her and grabbed her groceries, tried to help her. But the lady was so upset and was trying to grab her groceries back, thinking that the little girl was trying to steal it. So there, the little girl had the intention of being kind, but she wasn't wise, yeah? Because sometimes you could have ideas of being kind, but you also have to have that wisdom to exercise it. You have to see and be sensitive to see what the other people need. Yeah. How can you be kind? How can you do something that is helpful and kind and not hurtful? So that is why it's a very good example to show how kindness and wisdom are connected to each other. And as you grow in kindness, you also grow in wisdom, because something that was very helpful for me to understand is it's hard to say whether I am wise or not. Yeah, it's really hard to judge. We all like to be wise and probably say, oh, I am wise, but how do we know? But we can all know whenever we are kind, right? Anybody knows if I am kind or if somebody else being kind to, because kindness is something we understand, we can judge, we can feel. So it's a good measure. The kinder you are, you can be guaranteed the wise you are as well, wiser you are. So that's a good gauge. And it is also easy to figure out how to be kind. Even you make mistakes, you learn from your mistakes. So you know at least next time what's the right thing to do. So kindness is also a very good way of becoming wise in one way. Yeah, and this is the level of virtue. This is the kindness that the wisdom that you need to become a virtuous person, because that is the start, right? The next level of wisdom comes after deep meditation. That is with the insights. But in order to get to deep meditation, that's what we are talking about. Deep relaxation is another word for deep meditation, is to first of all develop the foundations, which is virtue. So this is why I'm talking about this level of wisdom, which is the wisdom that you need to be a kind person. In other words, a virtuous person, a good person. And another beautiful thing I want to share, there is this one nun in our monastery. There are many nice nuns, but one of the nuns that I've known for about 17 years, she's really, really, always really nice. It's kind of impossible. So I asked her, how can you be always so nice? She said, it feels nice. It feels nice to be nice. You know, it feels good to be nice. Isn't that true? That was an insightful moment for me because she said, I do it because it feels good to be nice. And it was true. And I reflected back. Yeah, if my tone of voice was not really nice, or if something not so nice came out of my mouth, which happens from time to time, I don't feel good afterwards, right? Afterwards, oh, I shouldn't have said that, or, you know, or did something. So, you know, if you couldn't restrain yourself, which happens, which is okay, it doesn't feel good. So it gives an extra incentive when you've been good by your body, by your speech, even when you've been thinking good things, you feel good. So it is a nice way of thinking about it, which I never thought about it. So that gave me a good way to reflect, say, oh, I like to be feeling good, then I should be good. That's a good way to think. I mean, surely we can't always be good. So the next thing is we are all very good at feeling guilty, and that's not helpful. Yeah. So the next thing, if you want to deeply relax, is we need to learn to forgive ourselves. We really have to do that. Yeah. Otherwise, these are the things that come to us and make our present moment unpleasant. And that is the time we try to run to the future to forget about it, run to the past to forget about it. So instead, it's much better if we are able to actually also forgive ourselves. Surely each one of us, including myself, we are not perfect people, because if we are, we won't be here. We'll be fully enlightened, right? We are still here. It's because we still have our defilements. And the nature of the defilements is for us to do some silly things from time to time. That's normal. That's being human. But the whole point is to really learn from our mistakes and say, that was a good opportunity. So you can turn around to have gratitude, even with our stupidity. Even that time, if you remember, okay, I made this mistake, but what can I learn from it so I don't repeat it next time? And later you can be grateful for that opportunity, saying, wow, that was good opportunity to learn. Next time I know what to do, because that's the only way, right? It's by sometimes making mistakes or watching other people's mistakes as well, that you can learn. And this is how you grow your wisdom. So again, every time, this is what Ajahn Brahm says, treat your difficulties as your great teacher, yeah? Your Ajahn, he says sometimes. So Ajahn Chah says this as well. So this is what it is. So you are very grateful for the opportunities the life provides, the difficulties that provide. And instead of becoming negative with it, you take it as a different slant. Yeah, I'm grateful for this difficult time because I can learn something from it and I can grow from it. And when you have that kind of attitude, you can always bring positivity into your mind, even from an occasion that is supposed to really make it difficult for you. It takes a bit of time, but but with encouragement and with practicing it, it becomes easier. The good thing about these practices like gratitude is because it is also related with these chemical reactions in our body. They have like a self-perpetuating effect. This is scientifically proven. That's what I read up in the research. You can do your research. Maybe you all know about this. Like when you bring up gratitude, the gratitude is also, by the way, it acts like an antidepressant. And there have been research that shows when you have gratitude, if you do a brain scan, the part of the brain that lights up is exactly the same part that lights up when you take antidepressants. That also shows that if you have gratitude, you have less chances of becoming depressed. But if you are not bringing up enough gratitude, and if you're actually going towards more negativity, that is when you allow yourself to fall into depression. So that's one thing. But also what it shows is that when you are bringing up and cultivating and training your mind to bring up gratitude, it starts to sort of train your prefrontal cortex. And that's the part that is helpful for you to appreciate things in life even more. So as you start appreciating, it gives you the ability to appreciate even more. So if you're somebody who's not that used to appreciating things just yet, even if you put some effort to do it at the beginning, as you do it, it becomes easier and it becomes natural. And after a while with practice, it becomes second nature. So it with practice, it grows and it sort of turns your mind to be a more positive mindset. But unfortunately, the world conditions us the opposite way, right? The news that we see is all about negativity, what goes wrong. People, when they get together, start in a way that's, nagging and looking at the, difficulties of life. When that happens, it's really hard to break through that. So that is why we have to put effort and energy into cultivating these positive mind states if we want to relax deeply and get into deep meditation and allow ourselves to, come up with these breakthrough insights at the other end, which is what our spiritual goal is, right, as practitioners. So that is why it is really important that we train our mind to become quite positive. And it starts with these kind of very, very simple acts. And I also want to touch on this because some of you might be thinking, yes, it's well and good for me to talk like this. It makes sense. But sometimes when you are like you feel overwhelmed with a very difficult emotion, it feels very difficult to come up with, gratitude and positive emotions when you're stuck inside that. Yeah, this is true sometimes. And it happens for each one of us from time to time. So what do we do then? Because we have to come back up. We can't just be stuck. But first thing to realize is any of our mind states, any of our emotions, all of these things in Pali are called dhammas. Yeah. And the Buddha said, Manasikara Sambhava Sabbe Dhamma. That means all of these mind states, all of these dhammas originate from the way you attend. Manasikara is the way you attend. So the way you attend to something is what gives rise to your emotion. So if you catch yourself in some kind of deep emotion and you feel overwhelmed and you're stuck inside it, the moment you notice, that's great, because as practitioners, that's mindfulness coming up and telling you this is the state of your mind. Then I encourage you to sort of look at it. What's the object? There is something. Maybe I'll just take an example. Somebody said or did something that was not nice. Yeah. So you say he or she did this or said that, and it's not good. I feel hurt. So as long as, so that's the object. And as long as you're attending towards that in a way of judging and comparing and saying it's not right, it's not correct, I'm hurt, as long as you keep that kind of way of attending and that kind of way of thinking, that angry or irritated emotion is kept up. Now, just to give you an example, you may have been in a very irritated, agitated state one day, and you got a phone call from somebody who you really love, and they gave you a beautiful news on the phone. And suddenly what happened? Your irritation and agitation is gone, and you're so happy. Instantly, right? The mind changes very quickly. This is just to show you that it is true. It has happened to you many times. Yeah, the mind. So all those overwhelming emotions, when you're inside it, when nothing else is happening, you feel like you are like, drenched and drowned inside it. But it's not like that. If you have another thing that comes up that is going to take you over, your mind changes very quickly. Unless you're clinically depressed or something like that, in which case you might need to take some medication and treatment to help you out. But in normal circumstances, in most cases, those emotions, they come, but they can be changed very rapidly. And you've done it many times before. So you can do it intentionally too. When you catch yourself, then ask your question, how am I thinking about it, so that it feels negative? Then you say, well, I have a different option. Now I'll show you another way that you can attend on that terrible person or the person who you gave a hard time. You can ask the question, instead of judging and saying what they did is wrong or bad, why are they doing it like that? Why did they behave like that? Different question to look at, right? Why? So if you look at the question why, this is yoniso manasikara. This is what the Buddha said, wise attention. You're looking into the causes. Instead of just blaming the person, you are asking the question, why are they behaving? Or maybe they're having a bad day. Or maybe they have a mental illness. Or maybe they're really suffering. Or maybe they're sick. Or maybe they got the wrong information. So many reasons, right? So many reasons. There's always a reason why somebody does something to you. There's always a reason. Sometimes we never find out, but there could be. And I mean, that doesn't mean that what they're doing is right. What they're doing is wrong, but at least you have an understanding why they're behaving. So when you understand at least why they're behaving, it allows you to sort of not be so angry. You understand, at least you understand why. Yeah. And for example, if they're actually sick or they got then if they're sick, then you actually can arouse, instead of anger, compassion. It is possible, right? You can feel sorry, or you can try to help them out. And if they've got the wrong information, then you also understand, oh, easy to fix, I'll give them the right information. So you can actually do something about it, because has anybody here achieved anything useful by becoming angry? Or becoming sad, or becoming like fearful, or even having a lot of desire? No, right? It's hard to achieve anything useful when you have negative emotions. But if you become positive, if you become calm at least, or if you at least remember that if that person's behavior has nothing makes sense, at least you know, as Buddhists or people who understand cause and effect, that they are responsible for their own actions. Yeah, the karma will get them at the end. At least you can become equanimous instead of becoming angry or agitated, because when you are angry and agitated, the first person who suffers is yourself, right? It's like you burn first before anything else, so it's not helpful. So when you think like that, these are all wise ways of attending to the situation that actually changes and reduces your emotion. It can be done also for any other emotion. Now, I can tell you a personal story from my own life. I am an only child, and I really deeply loved my father when I was little. I had a very strong connection for my father, and my father also really deeply loved me. And one time we went to a funeral, and it was a very sad funeral. It was one of his cousins who's passed away, and everybody was crying, and it was quite a sad funeral. So as we were coming back, my father said, well, for us, one person has died. But for the person who died, it's like everybody else died on them, right? The separation is there as well for them. So he said, if the person's spirit is around, they might be very sad as well. We never think about it like that, right? Because we are sad for the person who died, and we start grieving. We start grief because this is another very strong emotion that comes up in people's life from time to time. That's why I'm bringing up grief. And but we never think about the other side as well. And then my father said, well, when I die one day, if you cry, I might become even more sad, and I won't be able to come back because I'm dead. So he said, can you promise me that when I die, that you won't cry? And I was 13 at the time. So I happily said, yes, I promise, thinking that he will die when I'm quite old, right? And I gave the promise, sure. And especially when he said like that, if he feels very sad, if he see me crying. And little did I know, exactly after 7 days, he died. He had a heart attack and he died. So as a 13-year-old, I had a promise given to my father not to cry. And it was difficult at that time. Dhamma wasn't still available. Like, I grew up in Sri Lanka in a Buddhist country, but we only knew about the rituals at the time. Dhamma wasn't quite available. So I didn't know much Dhamma. I was little as well. So I had no choice, but because it's kind of like a time of trauma in a way, because, your father has died and it's a big kind of event and it's quite strong and your mindfulness is up. So I can remember very clearly, I can go back to that mind state even now as I'm speaking to you, how I felt. I feel like my mind turning in a way that thinking, oh, I can't live without my father. I want him back. I think like that. And I can see my tears welling up and I'm about to cry and becoming so sad. But then I realized I have a promise. I can't do that. So I bring my mind to the center. Then I can't keep my mind in the center because it's so hard. Then, I don't know, maybe out of desperation, I started to think, wow, I had a good father. He was a really nice person. So when I started thinking the good qualities of my father, suddenly I wasn't sad, but some form of joy started to come. Instead of, oh, I'm so grateful, even it's such a short time, it's only 13 years, but I had a really nice father. And he had all these qualities. So when I think like that, then I could see I wasn't sad. But if I direct my mind, I want him, I can't live without him, I can see sadness coming. So as a 13-year-old, I sort of got a little bit of insight into what the Buddha was telling. Like, you have an object. So death of my father was the object. The way I was attending, I want him, can't live without him, like with attachment. And not being able to let go brings up a strong negative emotion, which can lead up into strong sense of grief. But instead, I look at the same object with gratitude, with the sense of appreciation, looking at good qualities of a person and celebrating his life, the celebrating of the person who's passed away, was bringing up instead a sense of joy and uplift. So that's another way of attending. The object is the same, and it's very powerful. Yeah, it is possible to do this even at a time of deep emotion, deep grief. I mean, this is one of the very primary things, like a death of a parent, a death of a child, a death of a spouse. These are very strong emotions that overwhelms people, and we feel like we will never be able to get out of such an emotion. And it seems like the society tells you you'll have to grieve for such a long time before you can come out. But the Buddha says it's not so. Yeah, it is not so, because it is up to us. Our problem is we do have some addictions. Even though we want to get rid of grief, even we want to get rid of fear, anxiety, even strong desires, or even lust or anger, we have addictions to these things, because these things also secrete different types of hormones into our bodies, and we get addicted to those. That is why it is difficult, but it is possible. So in my case, even though I may also have some addiction, the promise that I gave to my father overpowered the addiction, because I had to keep my promise. So I couldn't be addicted to feeling sad. I had to give it up. So just notice in our minds, it's the addiction that doesn't allow us to do the right thing. And it is the addiction that keeps the unwise way of attending, ayoniso manasikara or papancha, which is the proliferations to happen and can allow the negative mind state to keep up. But instead, if you notice your addiction, see its danger and bring up enough effort in the beginning to break it free, you will be able to overcome it. So I'm just speaking about it is because it's easy for us to say all these things, but in reality, these can be difficult. But this is like really practical ways of starting from where you are at and doing the work you need to do and prepare your mind stage by stage, so that it is ready to bring up positive. So you have to first get rid of the negative. All the Buddha's teachings is sabba papassa akaranam kusalassa upasampada sachitta pariyodapanam etang buddhana sasana. Sabba papassa akaranam means getting rid of all the unwholesome. Yeah. And the kusalassa upasampada, and that is cultivation of the good. And that is, after that is the training of the mind, sachitta pariyodapana. So that is the stepwise method. So we are most of the time in the world, including myself, we have much more negative or defiled states coming up in a day. That is common because we are still unenlightened beings here. So then we have to deal with those first in a skillful way, the bigger ones first, and then the subtle ones later. And it is actually the same process. So even cultivation of the gratitude, it's the same thing. Yeah, you just bring up your plate of food, and instead of saying, oh, do I have to eat the same thing again, the leftovers? You can, that the object is there. You look at it, wow, I have a nice hot meal to eat, and bring up gratitude. Again, it's yoniso manasikara. It is wise attention that brings up positive mind states as well. So use the same wise attention in a skillful way to get rid of negative emotions first, and then cultivate positive emotions and bring up and uplifts the mind. And it is that uplift that allows you to go to deep meditation. And the last 5 minutes or so before I open up for questions, I just want to show you, which something you already probably know, but just to remind you, the psychology of meditation. And this comes up many times in the suttas. If you want to look up, one of the suttas is called Upanishad Sutta, and another one is Nachetana Karaniya Sutta, which is on Anguttara Nikaya, that is the Numerical Discourses, Book of 10. I think it's probably the third sutta there. There the Buddha says, it is the mind that does not have regrets and remorse. That's the starting point. Yeah. So it is very important when you sit down on your cushion or on your chair, if you want to get into deep meditation, to make sure that you don't have any regrets and remorse in your mind. So that is why I took some time to sort of discuss about how to sort of get rid of these things, and spoke about, forgiveness of yourself, forgiveness of others, all of those things. So once you've dealt, because we are not perfect people, we do mistakes, but once you've done that process, then we can sit with a mind that does not have regrets and remorse. And the Buddha says, when the mind does not have regrets and remorse, gladness comes up in your mind. It is in Pali called pamoja. So when the mind has gladness, it's uplifted. It has energy. It has a starting energy there. So when you have gladness in the mind, the Buddha says, you don't have to exert will and say, may my mind have joy. Joy comes about in a mind that already has gladness. All you have to do is just stay with the glad mind, just focus on your body, or just relax and sit down and wait with just a simple object like your breath. When the mind is glad, it's actually happy to be here. When it's happy to be here, you can just stay there, and the mind is not running here and there. It is the running mind, the tired mind, which is negative, which is difficult, which is not able to have happiness and joy. But when the mind is glad, when it stays here, it builds up energy. And that energy is what we start to feel as joy. So I'm sure most of you would have felt that in different meditation sits, if not this last sit, that as you sit there with a glad mind, as you as time goes on, joy starts to come up passively, effortlessly. It just sets in. And then the Buddha says, when the joy comes up, you don't have to exert your will. After a little while, tranquility comes in, tranquility of the body. So as we were relaxing, if any one of you felt the delight in the body, the body slowly vanishing, the aches and pains going, that's tranquility coming up, because you started with a glad mind, it went through a bit of joy, and it started to become tranquil. And when the body becomes tranquil, it sort of goes back into your mind as happiness. So the mind becomes happy. So tranquility is kaya passaddhi, and then it goes to sukha, which is the mind becomes happy. And sukhino chittang samadhyati. So it's a happy mind that enters deep meditation, jhanas. So it just shows you how this works. So this is the meditation psychology. So when we understand this is the only way to only way to reach deep meditation. So that gives us an incentive to do the work that we need to do at the right place. So to just wrap up, first steps are to identify the state of our mind. And if it is in like a difficult emotion, then we know some techniques to deal with that difficult emotion and allow ourselves time. And then we cultivate positive emotions. And today we spoke about gratitude and making that a habit. And we said that it is self-perpetuating. So as you train it, it becomes easier. And as you do it, you become a happier and more positive person. The happier you are, the more positive you are. And happy people are kind people. Kind people are happy people. Happiness, kindness, and wisdom goes together. So we grow in those things as a spiral going up. So as you become wiser, as you become happier, as you become kinder, meditation becomes possible. And as you meditate, as you become still, as your mind becomes quiet and relaxed deeply, that allows for the deeper insights to arise in your mind. So I will not talk about the deep insights, that's the beyond the topic of today's talk, but I'm sure you all know how that happens. But I hope it made sense. I hope it was helpful. You are very welcome to agree or disagree or ask questions. And please unmute yourself and ask questions. Okay, that's it. Wow, everybody very contented and very peaceful.
I will ask Leah to unmute.
Yeah.
Thank you, Kadli. Thank you very much for a lovely talk. My question is about when you were talking about the negative feelings, and I mean, I think that somewhat, I think some of the so-called negative feelings can be quite useful though at times. Like, for example, when you have to, I don't know, stand up for yourself in a situation of business, for example. Or, yeah, you just have to sort of remind people of a certain, where the boundaries are. So I think sometimes, those emotions of, I don't know, anger even can be useful. Also, the other thing you were talking about, you were talking about how when you were feeling sad and you promised your dad that you weren't going to cry. I feel somewhat, I mean, this is, if we try to switch sadness or, sometimes we feel depressed, shouldn't we tend to these feelings, and care for them rather than try to switch to something that is positive? That can be sometimes forceful, no? It's just, it's just, this is how it could be interpreted, instead of tending to our negative feeling, our sadness, our depression, our anger. That was my question.
No, thank you. Thank you very much for that question, which is challenging what I said. And that's exactly what I expected, because this is how we feel. Yeah. That is why I challenged, because this is how you would normally feel. And that is good to have this, because these are some of the concepts and ideas that we have in our life. Sometimes that is why the Buddha actually challenges. What I presented was what the Buddha actually mentioned. And why he challenged us is sometimes we believe some things that we have grown up and were asked to kind of, take on board. For example, that you mentioned about having that kind of strong emotion, even of anger and stuff, can be helpful at work, or even to discipline your kids or something like that. But this is how we have been taught. But the Buddha showed the power of kindness over more than anything else. And we can see sometimes when we are strong and we have a very strong sense of talking with a bit of anger to sort of control people, sometimes it is not as effective. I found myself, because I have been there, done that myself, as effective as when you were able to say something with kindness and with positive emotion. Sometimes you can get more things done and people actually listen to you better with a positive emotion. That has been an experience. I made many mistakes when I was especially a lay person. As well, and I did the building project at the monastery when I was a nun. Even at that time, sometimes my tone of voice can be also strong, and I learned sometimes it's actually, if you can be kinder and come from a positive emotion, it's effective. So I challenge you to try it out at work. Instead of using a strong negative emotion, try with a positive emotion and see whether that works. This is just a challenge to see, because this is what the Buddha said. Because the world says otherwise. The world tells us sometimes it's good to have these strong emotions to be able to speak up and, deal with situations. But try it the other way around as well and see whether that does something. So that's a challenge to take up and see. And of course, with the sadness, it is true. So it's not that I never became sad. I allowed myself later, like after the funeral passed and stuff, it will come up, then I will watch it. But the difference was I did not allow myself to indulge in it. This is where grief comes. Yeah. Sadness and grief are two different things. Grief is when we start indulging it and we can't let it go. We hold on to it and we keep holding on to it, and it sets in. It also becomes addictive because it also produces some chemicals in our bodies, and that is why you can see sometimes people grieving for months and years. Yeah, then that is really harmful for people. So sadness coming up is no problem. We won't be able to avoid it. That's a natural emotion. So you can watch sadness and learn from it. But the only thing that you learn from, the most important thing you learn from sadness is being sad isn't helpful for oneself or to other people, because it sort of makes things difficult for yourself and others. Positive emotions are easier. And to see that, you watch sadness also comes and sadness also goes. And what I was suggesting was even sadness is kept up. All these mind states are kept up by the way that we attend. And when we are good and ready, and when we have enough mental energy, we can let it go and we can turn it around. So of course, at times when we don't have enough strength of the mind, it is okay to stay with sadness and watch it coming and watch it passing away. So that is okay. But the idea is there is also a way out. That's what I was trying to show, not to say that you should not allow it at all. The only point I wanted to show you was that even at a very strong emotion like that, you can do it. But of course, I have allowed myself to be sad, and even I cried afterwards, much later. But because we are human beings, so that's okay. I hope that answered your question, or sort of you can make sense of what I was trying to show. But the Buddha is challenging us, so that's the challenge that I presented to you. Yeah, take it up and see.
Great.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. And James has a question. Hello, James. We might, yeah. Okay.
Hello. Am
Hello.
I on?
Yes, I can hear you.
Thank you for the talk and for the meditation, and also really for the reminder, because I've quite recently started to be more actively grateful, particularly in the morning, waking in the morning and being grateful for this and for that, and trying to bring these things to mind. And I sometimes find that it's easier to do it just for simple things, like for the bed that I'm laying in at the time, for the practice I'm about to do. But I find it a lot harder doing it sort of during the course of the day. It's sort of so easy to forget. And I suppose, I think, like you said, you have to persist and make it a habit. But I think my mind just sort of leans towards negative states a little bit too easily, So I just wonder whether maybe, is it like, maybe I should be like sort of doing something with those negative thoughts and states rather than trying to sort of jump into gratitude. You know what I mean? Like, am I perhaps like missing something? It's if that makes any sense. Thank you.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I mentioned, first of all, we have to deal with our negative emotions and negative habits. So that's our primary work. And then, you can also simultaneously in the background slowly start up the gratitude habits and the positive cultivation, but the dominant side will be negative because that's what we have practiced for many lifetimes. Yeah, not just this one. This is samsara, this is samsaric beings, this is how we are trained in samsara, because there's a belief these things will get us through. Yeah, these emotions, these strong things is what will help us to become successful. And we understand. So these are habits that we need to change. So again, when negativity comes up, the first thing as mindfulness practitioners is to notice. So you're already noticing that during the day that you have more negative. So that's number one. That's great. And then notice, what are the things that I get negative about? So find out your objects. And then find out, how do I think about these things? Yeah, so this is like a whole big project, like a experiment. And it's quite interesting to discover yourself. Okay, these are the things, these are the people, these are the situations I get negative about. And I look at these things, I attend on these things in this way. So that's okay. So you're identifying, you're doing your research. And then when you have a good state, like in the morning, when you have a gratitude and happy mind, a positive mind, at that time, you can even write down your things at the time, the negative things. And then you have a mind and think about, how can I think about this thing in a way that's not so negative, less negative? Start with being less negative and then slowly see whether it can be neutral and see, can I turn it around to be positive? Yeah. So it's a step by step, what you're ready to do, your mind is ready to do. There's always a different angle, a different way that you can look at it. Yeah. The different perspective, because every object has a different way of looking at it. To give you an example, just I'm encourage you to see what's the taste in your tongue right now. Don't have to tell me. Yeah, you just attended, right? Before that, you were just looking at me and listening. You are not paying attention to the taste in your tongue. But when I said that, you attended to your tongue and you felt a sensation of whatever taste you had. And you could feel, I like this taste or I don't like this taste. Yeah, it's something that is pleasant or unpleasant. And it's just to show that you have a choice in the matter, where you attend and how you attend. This is just a very simple one, but to all those things that throughout the day, when you get into habit, you see, oh, I'm being negative. Why am I being negative? And you do something else, so slowly it takes time because we've cultivated these negative habits for such a long time. It'll take a while, but it does. And the beautiful thing is the Buddha said, as we know, one of the qualities of the Dhamma is sanditthiko, apparent here and now. So the results you can feel immediately. Yeah, as months and years go past by, you will see, wow, I used to get so upset with this thing. And not anymore. And I actually find it funny when this happens now, because sometimes you can laugh at things that happens that used to irritate you, and you find yourself laughing about those things. So, it is possible. So take it up as a challenge. I like challenges in life. So, take up these challenges and see whether that works. Anyway, I hope that's helpful. And well, we can see.
Thank you. Thank you.
And then Judith. Hello, Judith.
I will just ask Judith to unmute.
Yeah.
Thank you. Hi.
Hello.
Venerable, I am brand new at
Okay.
and I just so appreciate what you said today. You've answered so many questions, but I have a big one right now. I am very, very new and very, very ignorant. And I don't know where to find the suttas at all in simple English.
Okay.
And also, how and where should I begin when I do find them? Because there's books. I know there's many, many books. I don't know where to go for any of this.
All right. If you Google Sutta Central, or some of you, if know, you can put into the chat, Sutta Central, and Sutta Central is freely available. They are the translations done by Bhante Sujata, who is from Australia, and he's translated all the suttas from Pali into modern English, like easy to understand English, and it is freely available. So it is freely available online. And also he has some essays written, which might give you a little bit of an introduction to get started. But that is where you can look up the suttas, the various different books. There are 5 different main books, but Majjhima Nikaya, which is the middle length discourses, is quite a good one maybe to start. And the numerical discourses are also good. And there is also a book by Venerable Bhikkhu Bodhi. This one you might have to purchase from Wisdom Publications, called The Word of the Buddha. And that actually also has like a good introductory way of setting into the Dhamma if you are into reading. However, if you also want, I don't know whether you have heard somebody called Ajahn Brahmali.
I see
And
him.
maybe you can, some of the friends can put into the chat also. And Ajahn Brahmali has also gives quite a nice sutta discussions. He has had couple of recent workshops here in BSWA, Buddhist Society of Western Australia, conducted a Noble Eightfold Path and gradual training and things like that. So these are also quite good starting points for somebody who's a beginner, because it's like more somebody's already talking about it and giving a commentary and an explanation with some of the sutta references. So that's also sometimes helpful rather than just delving into a book, just to sort of get a bit of guidance. So I can email maybe Derek if Derek is not able to find them out, so you can forward it to Judith. Or if you already know, you can already forward the links from BSWA, for example. That's just one way, because these are my teachers who are recommended people and connected to you all. For Anukampa, we are the same organization as in like with Buddhist Society with Ajahn Brahm. Ajahn Brahmali is one of his senior disciples and a good teacher who describes a lot of the suttas. So I can recommend that maybe. If other people have something, they can also maybe suggest to you. Yeah.
Thank you so very much. I really appreciate it.
Thank you everybody for being here. And I hope you all have a lovely evening and a good week. And nice to meet you all. Let me just look at the second page because I only saw people from the first page. Okay. All right, that's great. It's nice to see so many people and lovely to meet you. So do we end here or is in? Yeah, okay, yeah.
If I may also offer my gratitude for your talk about gratitude.
Yes.
And also the talk about wise attention. It's been very beneficial to me personally as well. So thank you very much, Venerable Karunika, for being here with us and for talking to us about these things.
Welcome.
I would also like to offer everybody an opportunity to find out more about the monastery where Venerable Karunika lives, Santi Forest Monastery in Eastern Australia.
Western states, yeah.
You can find out more by going to the website, which is santifm.org. I'm going to post it in a minute on the chat. And also to offer everybody the chance to support Santi Forest Monastery or the Anukampa Bhikkhuni project, because these talks are offered freely on a donation basis, and we're always very grateful for all support for the Bhikkhuni community. So to support Venerable Karunika, the address is double in the chat box. And of course, there's the anukampaproject.org/donate. So thank you very much. And we look forward to seeing you again in future Sunday evenings next week again. Have a good week, everyone. And thank you again, Venerable Karunika.
Thank you. Okay, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.